Hey, how's it going guys? ZDEyE here. So today I wanted to talk about Scarlet Nexus. So I've got an opportunity of playing the game and on my PlayStation 5 and I have enjoyed myself with it. So I wanted to share my thoughts. Now I want to mention as well, this is just a demo of the game that's available right now for pretty much Xbox and also the PlayStation. I'm not too sure about the PC, but you can definitely try it out and see for yourself if you like this sort of game and perhaps if it is up to your alley. Now necessarily, if I would have to make a comparison between this game and what I have played previously, this game is definitely much closer to Code Vein. If you have guys played Code Vein, it's not that far from it. But the combat, the story, the characters and the art design is very different. The one thing I would definitely say very similar is the structure of the map. So you go from point A to point B, it's very similar to Code Vein. So you have to go through the alleyways, right, and go through the left or to the right. You don't necessarily know which is the correct path, but yes, you can actually explore the areas in the map like this, just like I said in the Code Vein. Now, I want to touch on as well on the combat first. I have to say that the combat has a very big learning curve that you need to figure out at first. Now, as long as you get it out, put in the time and you'll be willing to do it, you'll get down to it and you will definitely enjoy the combat that this game has to offer. Now there are a few gripes with the game I definitely have in terms of its combat. So thankfully there is an opportunity for you to auto aim on the enemies. You can do manually as well if you want to. So the issue though, if you try to use a normal stances of melee combat, right? You're not gonna necessarily hit those enemies all the time. And so it's a little awkward at some of the cases. And one other thing, I feel like the game needs a little bit more responsiveness towards like when I want to actually dodge. Please, goddammit, dodge. Because like this, unfortunately not real, a true animation cancellation. Well, at least not as bad as Godfall. Godfall, my god, that is an awful anime. Like, it just doesn't have animation canceling. It's just very bad. In this case, Scarlet Nexus is completely different because of what it tries to be and what it tries to do. So, with this case and this story anyway, it really didn't dive into the story as much as I perhaps like to, but again, this is a demo, so it's understandable. So, in this case, you're a rookie if you play as a male version of the character, and I'll get into male and the female versions of the character that you can actually play in this demo, and you will be able to do so also on the full version of the game. So you basically a rookie, you figure out your powers, and you go up to your enemies, you basically kill them. You continue through different area, you collect some of the collectibles around the map, the world basically, and you face the main boss at the very end. That's just pretty much the demo. And of course between that there's also character development, conversations, and a little bit more of course. So one thing I wanted to touch on regarding the gender basically, it's not like a similar to say when you change the character from a male to a female because that's just your, that's what you want to play as. Do you want to play as a female character? No, there's a little bit more to it. So male and female characters are completely different characters and you actually get to figure out, or you get to pick which one you want to be going towards that story. Because male, I have played by the way both of them, so male you actually have a little bit of a different story direction compared to the female, okay? And also you'll have differences in the combat. So male protagonist, he's more on a closer ranged targets that he likes to get at, okay? And the female, she's more of a long range target that she likes to get at, okay? So in this case as well, I just wanted to say that personally, I think that the game in terms of its combat and the variety of it is very big. So in this case, what the main appeal I think that a lot of people may like, or at least sounds interesting, is the psychokinesis, or psychokinesis basically the power or telekinesis I should even say, right? So basically you move the objects and the stuff around you using your mind, right? So you actually can hit the enemies, and of course you have to open up you know, their weakness, and you have to damage them, and that's how you get through it. Now there are a few gripes with that as well. Specifically, there's a rhino character of an enemy. I've totally forgot the name, I apologize. But basically you have to break his helmet, and then you can actually deal a heavy amount of damage on him. But again, this just feels like, you know, for a normal enemy, and that doesn't exactly lock on to the head of the enemy, that's a little bit of an issue, unless if you're right in front of him. I don't know, that's just my opinion. One other thing I want to mention regarding the world and the map that you go through, right? You can actually run through if you want to. Most of the times you will not be able to run through. You'll have to clear out the enemies that you encounter. So in this case, when you're running through, I noticed that when I go through corridor to corridor, even though they're not really corridor, but the way they are simulated as like a corridor, okay, I felt a little bit dizzy. I think it's because of the world and the map and the, you know, the art style of itself, because it's so like cyberpunk-ish, right? And so it's always colors and the effects, and maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me, or maybe it was just that day I didn't feel particularly well, and maybe that's why I want to touch on this a little bit. So if that's the case, if that's what happened to me, so you may want to, take a look at the game and, judge it for yourself if you are going to be experiencing a similar thing as I did. Demo is free, guys, so give it a shot. There's no excuse for you to not give it a shot if you're at least somewhat interested into this game. Okay, so other than those things, we really didn't get much else to see. Now, of course, there's a lot more variations towards the combat I could definitely talk about, such as this is an example. You can pretty much change to different characters' powers, and for example, teleportation you can use, or you can use a flame, flame power, basically using your blade and using a flame. I forgot the name, typical, isn't it? And there's also stone powers. Basically, you will not be able to be dealt with damage on you when the enemies hit you, as an example, or invisibility cloak, that you can actually see enemies that are invisible. Those are just a few, right? So of course there are different characters that are supporting you, and so something about this game has a lot of vibe towards the code vein, because I feel like the story is gonna go the similar way. So basically you're a recruit, or at least you're one of the newbies, or at least in terms of the guy, that's how it is. In terms of the woman, the girl, actually, she's more experienced veteran soldier, so she has a lot more combat experience, and in this sort of way, right? So in this case, I think it's just basically something's gonna happen to you at the end of the game, basically, or near the end of the game, or at least maybe halfway through. I'm not too sure. You unlock some kind of powers, and then it's gonna be some kind of difficulties that you'll be going through, but you're gonna be powerful as hell. A lot of people, a lot of characters around you are gonna be very surprised by you, and they're gonna be making sure that you'll be okay. Some of them are gonna be hesitant, some of them are gonna be supportive. It's that kind of story I feel like that's going to be. And mind you, I actually like this. I really like this sort of stories. I like being the main guy in the attention of getting that. I feel like it's just more entertaining, in my personal opinion. One-man army sort of thing was my appeal in stories, and this is, I think, and definitely has that treat, at least for me. Now, if you're feeling the same way, then yeah, I think it is a pretty interesting game to dive into and experience it for yourself. Now, if there's any issues with this game that perhaps you don't mind what I've already mentioned, then I think you may actually like this game. Now, the thing is, if I would have to say if it's worth it, or picking it up for full price, I don't yet know. Due to that, I want to find out the content and the amount of the length of the story that this game has to offer, right? And let's say after the story, what else can you do? Do you replay the story? Do you go through different directions? How many endings does it have, right? I'm sure a lot of people say, well, okay, if you play as a woman, you can actually have a little bit of a different story experience, and that's just the case. A little bit of cutscenes are different, there are different characters that are supporting you going on the adventures as well, and different dialogues as well. So, of course, it's going to be different in a lot of cases. And so, of course, this will incentivize you to replay the game again, but this time as a different character that you initially did not play as though. Okay? Well, that's just my thoughts, guys. Tell me down in the comments, what did you think about the game if you have already tried it out? Now, if you have not, do give it a shot if you're at least interested. Alright, thank you so much for watching, guys. Like and subscribe, and yeah, have a good one.